Hey everyone, my guest today is ARI'EL Stachel. Ari is a Tony and Grammy Award-winning actor, singer, and writer. At the time of this conversation, his new solo play Other is in production. Ari received the 2018 Tony Award for his role in the Broadway show The Band's Visit. On screen, he can be seen in Death Do Us Part, Don't Worry, Darling, and Zola. And on the TV screen, you might know him from Law and Order SVU, Blindness, Billions, Jessica Jones, Blue Bloods, and The Night Agent. How honored am I to have you on the podcast today, Ari? This is just a lucky day for me. Thank you.
My sincere pleasure, truly.
You have been not just doing a one-person show, you have been talking to a lot of people about the show at the same time and sort of running on fumes, I would imagine at this point. So actually, huge thanks for coming on.
Hmm.
I loved your play so much. It was astonishingly beautiful and moving. Um, Other is such an incredible title and it evokes so many different feelings and meanings for people. Maybe we can start with how you named this baby.
Yeah, well, I think I named the toddler because, well, it depends on how you think about theater, because I think a lot of New Yorkers think that theater only becomes theater when it's in New York, but it has had a couple other runs. The world premiere was in the Berkeley Rep under the title Out of Character.
Huh.
And what I'll tell you is that Out of Character was performed pre-October 7th. And when I came to New York trying to get a New York run, of course, October 7th happened, I would say 2 months after, it was from August 2023. And everyone says to me, well, you're a brown Jew, you're an Arab Jew, you got to write about October 7th. So everyone sort of had this political agenda for the piece. And we did two regional runs to sort of figure out not to write a new piece, but to integrate and keep it up with where I was as a person and in the way that that radically transformed the way that I saw myself and the way that I related to the world. And when we opened it in New York, it felt like the story had evolved, and it was about a person whose identity was fluid in conversation with the world. And the more I performed it, the more I saw so many people who would come to me and say, "Oh my God, like I know that I'm not Yemenite, Israeli, Ashkenazi, Jewish like you, but this is my story."
Hmm.
And it felt like almost a subversive title, which is to say that I'm not other. I'm these very specific things, but I have been made to feel like an other. But the more people I spoke to, the more I realized that many, many of us felt that way. And so the title felt like an invitation
Hmm.
for people to see themselves in this story, and also to say, all these people that check this box, or all these people that feel different, this is about that.
Well, first of all, the thing that's so extraordinary to your point about something being so, I always love that the more specific something is, the more universal it tends to be. I did a play called My Name is Asher Lev, which is so specifically about an Orthodox Jewish family, and the son wants to be an artist, which is so not appropriate within the confines of that lifestyle. And the
Sure.
number of people who not only weren't Jewish, maybe had never met a Jew in their lives, that related so deeply to this idea of having a voice really pushing them to do something that is not accepted by their family. And so the power, whether it's Chaim Potok or Ariel Stachel, the idea that a story that is really lives in one sort of culture can reach so many cultures is such a beautiful testament to your piece and specifically your performing of this piece. You're just such a beautiful actor within the construct of this gorgeous play that you wrote. I want to just let people know that what's really incredible, and most people know you. You're famous for being the Tony Award winning actor from this little jewel of a play that went from the Atlantic Theater to Broadway called The Band's Visit. And just it's not a spoiler alert, it's just how you open the show. It begins with you on Tony night, the night we all imagine to be the night, you're Cinderella for the night, right? Like this gorgeous dream is realized if you're an actor, especially a theater actor. And you
Yeah.
show us that while there's this kind of presentation of self going on and people at you all night wanting a little piece of you, you're having an absolute breakdown in the bathroom. And
Mhm.
the only song that sort of demonstrates that is Michael in the Bathroom from that show, Be More Chill. Like I kept thinking,
That's funny. That's funny. That's funny.
it's so brave and beautiful. So talk to me about the willingness to go from this incredibly huge career moment, which is just a few minutes ago in terms of your life, if you really think about it, although the world has changed so much since then, to I'm going to share, like I suffer from, what is it, hypohidrosis?
Hyperhidrosis, OCD. Yeah.
OCD, you sweat uncontrollably, whether you want to or not, just all the ways in which your body, you may have felt betrayed you at moments.
Yes.
Did it, and this play seems to me to be about how to make friends with this rather than the idea that you can exorcise it from your life, um,
Yes.
which is so inspiring. How did you go from like I'm experiencing all of this to were you always a writer at the same time as you were an actor?
No, I mean, I would say that I was always, I come from, I say in in the play that my mom's side of the family is intellectuals and professors, and so I was around a lot of academia growing up. I mean, my mom was an OBGYN and then she went back to school and got her MPH, Master's in Public Health at UC Berkeley while I was in high school. Um, and so the effort to think and to process ideas was deeply embedded in my bloodline. And so I think, you know, I'm going to answer your question in two ways. One is that it is a part of my lineage, I think, as a Jewish person, to think deeply, and there's psychologists in my family, and so I think inside of me there's always this need to really excavate and think and to process. And I think parallel with that, I think that my general sense of what it meant to be an actor, I got a little jaded pretty quickly after winning that Tony. I mean, I sort of felt like everyone wanted to capitalize on the Tony win, everyone meaning the industry and my team, and it was like, there's a Marvel movie, and I was like, why are we telling the Marvel story? Like, why are we telling this story? And no one could really answer other than there's famous people in it and it can make a lot of money. No one could answer that question. And I just felt there was this major dissonance between why one becomes an artist and the things that are offered to us in show business, two
Right,
completely different things.
right.
And so that has already been a part of my thinking. And the band's visit was this, at that moment it felt like this great opportunity for me to humanize Middle Eastern characters. That felt like the great service for me as someone who had hid my Middle Eastern identity. And then you asked, well, why did I choose to share this? Well, because there's no other option for me.
Mm,
And because it's funny, when I finally met my director, Tony Taccone, I went and met him at the lobby of the public theater, and I was wearing a beanie somewhere in between my eyebrows because I was so petrified that this renowned director would see me sweating.
mm,
And the story that I wanted to tell him was one about this kid who'd hid his Middle Eastern identity and triumphed. And it was kind of like this like happy, that's how I first envisioned the show, about like what it means to embrace your roots and how that can set you free. Meanwhile, I'm going through debilitating anxiety and somehow didn't think that that would be part of the story. And I think Tony, with all of his years of experience, understood through our conversations over the next couple of years that there was something going on inside of me. He kept saying, why does the adult want to tell the story?
mm,
And we got into a workshop at Berkeley. Right, it was 2.5 years after first meeting. And it felt clear to both him and our dramaturg, Madeline Oldham, that if we didn't crack the story, that we'd probably part ways. And so we get into something of a confrontation during this workshop. And he says, what does your character want? Why is the adult telling the story about this 13-year-old kid who hides his background? And at some point, I blurred out, he wants to feel less anxious. And he said, interesting, leave, write about that. And I came back the next day with 25 new pages. And that became the voice of the narrator. And you ask, why did I choose to? I don't know that I choose to so much as it came out.
yeah.
And as an artist, you're mining and trying to stay available to these breakthroughs. And it became very clear that that was the most honest version of the story, the truest version of the story. And then when I started performing it, because I get that truthful, it seemed that in freeing myself, other people were feeling freed too. And
Well, I mean, listen, the number of, I mean, my audience was like the most interesting group of people who are all related by the thread of wanting to see this show, but you could not find a more complex, interesting group of people watching the same show, age-wise, culturally, where they grew up, everything. And there's not a person in that theater who could not identify with wanting to hide their true selves to fit in.
yes,
Like
yes,
your story, when you talk about like the universal aspect of this, it is like, and as a human being who myself and a parent and a daughter, just the idea of like deeply leaning into what do we suppress to fit in? What am I
mhm,
doing today? I mean, that's what was so incredible about your play. I was like, okay, I get what like eighth grade Alana did to fit in. But like what is like middle-aged Alana doing now to this day? Like from a blow dry to like all sorts of things, right?
yeah, sure, sure,
To kind of appear to be something. And that's what's so deeply moving about this piece. And also, I just want to continue and ask about, because I also, I talk to tons of artists in all lanes of making things. When you bring your family into the story, right? You couldn't tell your story without explaining who you were trying to pretend not to be when you were,
right.
or not to be from. So just the vulnerability of that, but not just for you, but for your dad, who I know is somewhere in the house that you're speaking from. How did you sort of come to terms with that truth out loud and sharing it in front of other people? And do you talk to your family before you do it? Like, how did you navigate that?
Yeah, and I just want to be maybe a little more specific for listeners. I mean, I think part of what you're talking about is both including people in your life on stage,
Yeah.
but the specific thread is that in the aftermath of 9/11 and having one too many experiences at school where people saw my thick bearded, very visibly Middle Eastern accented father at school and kept getting teased and compared to Osama bin Laden. In a desperate chase to fit in, decided that by high school I would try to pretend that that wasn't my dad and created a false story to survive high school by saying that I was half black and not half Middle Eastern Yemeni Israeli like I actually am. And so, um, you know, I don't. The answer to your question is that like when you're in the writing a story and the truth comes out, it's a very cathartic experience. Your body knows what needs to go into the story on some level. Um, and there are times in the writing process where you can sort of try to intellectually force things into the story that don't work. You want it to be that way. And then there are moments where you are so at ease, it is so right, it feels so much in alignment. You go, that's the truth.
Mm,
And, I think that it's okay if it costs something for you as an artist, because if it costs you something, then you're actually bringing something valuable to other people.
mhm,
And so I guess for me, and I don't want to say this sort of by to pretend that theater is like the change agent in the world, but in the small way that theater and stories can change, I think going to those really naked, honest places, those uncomfortable places, those places that feel shameful, those are the things, certainly in other people's stories, that make me feel a more confident and more connected and less alone as a person.
mhm.
And so, um, so I think someone once said that you don't want to write from like an open wound, you want to write from a scab, maybe. And I
Yeah.
think that because it is a scab, and because I'm sort of healing from it, I just think that going to that place again is the greatest service I can do. It gives people permission to sort of look at the things that they've hidden about themselves and their shame and understand that we're all connected trying to make sense of life, trying to overcome our shame, trying to make peace with who we are. And often, we inherit things that we don't like about ourselves. That's very
Yeah.
human.
I was thinking about as I was watching it, what part of the show, because it deals with, it's so beautiful and also so funny as
Mhm.
much as it is emotional. What is are there parts of the show that are like, oh, I can't wait to get to this part, like this is really fun and less
Oh yeah,
painful?
good
Yeah,
question. I love bringing to life my childhood buddy Robert, the kid who befriends me on the basketball court. I
yeah.
love bringing basketball onto the stage, and just sort of living that and remembering what it felt like to be, 13 and this kid sort of opening up my life for listeners. It's the moment where I am falsely assumed to be black by a classmate who then takes me in and we become these sort of like basketball kings in middle school, and we're just hopping around campus, and on stage I'm hopping around there, so that's really fun. But even in the moments that are quote unquote dramatic scenes, there's always some levity, there's always a line. I love playing characters, I love it so much, and I love people enjoying that. Um so yeah, Robert is the first thing that comes to mind, that experience of just sort of finding myself as a 13-year-old kid. Playing Aziz, this Egyptian American friend I have, is really fun. One thing that I'll say is that the solo show is a really freeing thing for an actor, because more often than not, when you become a professional, you're playing pretty close to quote what we call type. You're not really stretching. And so, but when you go to drama school, you're playing 60-year-olds, 7-year-olds of different races, of different backgrounds. And the solo show is one of the few forms that we have that really allow us to do what made us fall in love with acting, which is make believe. And the industry, again, relegates us to types. And I talk about it in the playoff and play, Middle Eastern number one, middle two. This one, I get to play a woman from Uganda, my best friend's African American grandmother, old Yemenite rabbis. I mean, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Was the band's visit your Broadway debut?
Yes,
How long after you got out of school did you book that job?
3 years.
Okay, pretty quick in terms of, when
It's so
you
funny when people say that it's quick, because what I remember is 3 full years of desperately auditioning and being depressed and not getting a job and just saying I can't do this and crying and my parents being worried. So yes, in when we write the biography, whenever that is, if it does happen, it will be like, God, he just waltzed right onto Broadway. I felt like it was 365 times three,
Mhm.
24 hours of misery. That's how I remember it.
Did you have, what were your survival jobs?
So I was a little bit clever. I went to NYU, so I lived in New York, and I started leasing apartments and then Airbnb-ing the rooms individually.
Oh my God.
So,
Entrepreneurial spirit.
well, I got that from my dad. The next play we'll learn about the entrepreneurial spirit. But yeah, that's what I was doing since I was in college.
Oh my God. Okay. So you weren't like driving a cab or working in a bar or cater waiter, or you were
Well, I was
just,
doing auditions, and then I was, rushing to these apartments, and I was cleaning it myself and welcoming in guests, and I would, it's now illegal, but then it was kind of a legal gray area, and I would rent a place for like whatever the rent was, I'd make double, and so that would
so
get me through school
would you
in
like
life.
borrow money like from your parents or friends to like pay up the rent up front, and then it would like, how did you have the cash flow to like keep the whole thing going?
I think I don't. Gosh, I don't know I don't remember exactly how that came, but it was a very small upfront cost. It'd be like, the rent would be like 4,000, and then I'd take a zip car, and I'd get free furniture from all over the city, whether it was
I
Queens or the
love it.
Bronx or
Yes,
Brooklyn, and I would just furnish an apartment overnight with a friend for free. I was scrappy.
I love it. Do you
No one has
find
ever
if you,
asked me that, and no one ever knows that.
all right, well,
I love it.
I can't even wait to know what the other little known fact is because this is fantastic already. Can we talk about the band's visit for a minute? Because that's so much the sort of beginning of your career to a certain degree, and also the catalyst for one of the worst nights and best nights of your life. Maybe it wasn't. Was it the best night at all?
Winning the Tony
Yeah.
specifically.
I know the hard
Um,
part. We saw
Look,
that.
listen, it's I think it would be reductive to say it was the worst night, and it would be reductive to say it was the best night. It was life.
It was
On the
like,
one hand, I think one one thing that I've learned is that the events and the moments that we dream of never feel quite like we imagine them to be when
right.
we fantasize about them, right? And so I remember as a kid, who doesn't dream of winning an award in front of their parents? Who doesn't dream of that? I mean, it's a wonderful thing to dream about, but then you show up on the day and you're still yourself, and you get in a car, and you feel anxiety, and something goes wrong, and you maybe forgot a line during your show. I mean, life surrounds these magical moments that we see on TV or on YouTube as these wonderful watershed experiences, but like you're still living through it. So I can't say that it wasn't something that I still feel very proud of, but of all the events that I've ever had in my life, I really don't fully remember that night. Really, I don't remember. I don't remember. It was like another force lifted me on that stage to speak. I mean, um, it's something that people might be surprised to know this, but like the validation that you feel from getting something like that can wear off quick
Mm. Because,
because can I pause for 1 second? Because
of course.
I'm hearing something. Hold on 1 second. Uh, uh, I can't have any sound. Yeah. Sorry. Are we able to edit this thing?
Yeah,
You edit it? Okay. I was
I will.
distracted. I'm distracted by my dad talking, and I wanted to
That's okay.
not talk so I could focus. Where were you? What did you ask?
Uh, you were talking about what we think the event is going to be, and then the wearing off of it is
Oh
pretty
yes,
quick.
yes, yes. So I was saying that the validation that you can get from an award can wear off very, very, very quickly because you know so what's the life of a Tony winner, right? Okay, well, you win a Tony, and then you go to a party, and a lot of people want to spin your little Tony and be connected to it, and what a great thing, right? And then
Yeah.
Tuesday after, your agents call and they say X, Y, and Z casting director wants you to audition for this thing, and now you have to audition, but now you're a Tony winner, so you have to deal. Well, okay, well, how do I live up to whatever magic that is? And and then you get a no. They say no, no, thank you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so like
Like you called me.
right, or like a movie, right, or you go to another audition, 2 months later. I don't know how many no's I got after. I mean,
Mm,
in the months after. So it gets you into a lot of rooms. I was feeling super anxious, tape after tape. It's not like this golden ticket
right.
to whatever. And so like it almost felt to me in some ways like a target on my back.
Mm,
And I was seeing my friends audition with a level of I mean, and I may be romanticizing it, but a certain level of ease and with
right.
a hunger. And I just felt like, how do I live up to this thing? And so it's really a tricky thing to navigate psychologically. But
Yeah.
what I want anyone to listen is like, yeah, okay, well, what's the human experience? You get a call 3 days later for an audition. And then 3 days after, they say, thank you, but no, thank you.
Right. Okay. Were you still doing the play or had it closed?
I was still doing it.
Okay. Did you enjoy doing the play?
I did. I remember certain experiences in the off-Broadway run, in the rehearsals specifically, of like finding a moment with Tony Shalhoub
I love him.
and finding different layers of the character. And then what happens during a long run is that at some show you find something new.
Mm.
And it's like, ooh, this is awesome. And you say to yourself, how did I ever not understand this about this character? Something small, some little detail, and it emerges 7 months into the run. And you
Yeah.
go, this is it. And then 8 months later, you go, oh, but here's this other thing. And I never knew that character, right? And we haven't spoken yet about other, but the same thing is happening to me about my own writing.
Tell me.
Right now? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one says, well, it's your story. Well, just because I wrote it and just because it's my story does not mean that it's any less of an acting challenge than anything else.
Right.
Because one has to still experience everything for the first time. And so it is just as challenging, if not more challenging. And I can't even tell you like little moments where you start, I've done the show now, I don't know how many times, but there are these moments that emerge for me as I play the characters, as each one of them becomes more and more focused and more real and more three-dimensional for me. And I go to myself, oh wow, that's what that character is. And so each performance is still like a treasure hunt. And how can I make this more alive? And there are all even as I transition out of characters, there are little tiny moments that I go, oh, that's connective tissue that I didn't have before. And how do I make, even if I'm, because in the clay, I'm playing so many different characters, but how do I make this moment more alive, more real, more full of life? And there's always space.
You have a lot of fancy producers on your show. If you look through the QR code program that is all the rage now, um, Deborah Messing, LaChanze, like all of these incredible people. Did you relieve yourself of also trying to produce the thing and just let Berkeley Rep or whatever the different entities that sort of helped you along the way, or have you been hustling and sort of making this happen
But
yourself?
here, little known fact, huh? Let's get real. Let's get real
Yeah.
about this. I've been fighting to get this play up and running for years.
Mm.
When Berkeley Rep first offered me the production, I had to wait 18 months
For a
from the
slot.
moment that they
For the bit.
offered it to me to do a slot.
Okay.
And you're sitting there, you're saying, I wrote the damn play. Let me do it on the damn subway.
Yeah.
Why am I waiting?
Yes.
And so you're waiting and waiting and waiting. And I'm feeling like this is my calling, my purpose. It was the most excruciating 18 months I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
From programming it and there's other auditions coming up and I can't focus. I want to do this thing, right? And then I got back to New York and October 7th happened. So that all the producers said, well, you gotta shove it in there. And I'm trying to still write to the heart of the play and not trying to write to the headlines, but something that feels real and true.
Yeah.
So we did another one in DC, and then we did another one in the Berkshires, and each one in some way, shape, or form is a miracle. And
Mm.
since this show is about being honest, let's be really honest. I get a call 2 weeks after I close in the Berkshires from the artistic director, Kate McGuire. And she says, Ari, Arsenova just had a cancellation. There is a slot at the Greenwich House Theater. The board member at the Berkshire Theater Group was a board member at the Ars Nova. And she said, do you want it? I said, yes. I called LaShawn. I said, LaShawn, are you in? She said, I'm in. LaShawn is in London. I got on a plane. I put the deposit down for the theater. And people don't understand. I mean, to fight to make your dream come true. And
Yeah.
then and then I go onto my emails and all the people who had seen the show. I want to co-produce it. I want to co-produce it. And we got the money and we made it happen. And it's so funny because from an actor's perspective, making it to off-Broadway or on Broadway is like this kind of mystical thing. And now as sort of the writer, and I would say I'm even though I'm not a producer in name, I'm a producer on this show. Um, it's real estate. And so the guy who learned how to do Airbnb is the guy who made this
Yeah.
happen.
Yes. Going in a zip car to get your set going. I mean, the whole thing.
I mean,
Actually,
so it
it was a
wasn't
really
that,
great
but what was amazing is we also have Mark Platt now. We have Mark Platt, we have Deborah Mess, I mean, Seth Rudetsky, and other people who are, maybe not quite as famous, but keep this ship going. Look, I have no words, and but what I really want to emphasize is that in such a polarized time for Jews and for Israelis and for the world, LaShawns really believed in this story and saw that it was a story for everyone.
Hmm.
And that is the kind of bridge building that I really believe in. And so, you know, I have to give her credit because, she and I talk about this a lot. Why is it so radical for a Black woman to produce a story outside of her culture? But it's not that radical for someone who's white to produce stories of a variety of cultures. And so it's really, really exciting the way that she's bringing in audiences from so many different cultures and backgrounds who are seeing themselves in the story. And I think also feeling invited because of her.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Um,
Yeah.
do you want to invite your Abba to say hello, or do you want to just stay with the way things are?
I think it would be nice to invite Abba, right?
I would be honored to meet your father. So
Okay,
if
give
he's
give
willing
me
to
one
say
second.
hi,
Can we pause for a second?
of course.
Okay. And I think I'll have to take these off. Is that
Yeah,
okay for
that's
the
fine.
sound?
Of
Okay,
course, as long
give me
as,
2 seconds. Give me
okay.
2 seconds.
Thank
Okay,
you.
1 second.
Okay.
You hear me?
Yeah.
He is somehow stepped out. I don't know where he is, and I wonder if when he comes back, we can just sort of sneak that on.
Okay.
Sounds
If
good.
he comes back in the next few, that's great.
Okay.
Um, does your family still live in California?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I want to go back to this show and sort of all the people who are keeping it alive, both in the audience and incredible coverage by, Robin Pogrebin in the New York Times and just all of these
Yes.
wonderful places that are highlighting the show. How long is this meant to go right now at this theater?
So this is going to go till December 6th,
Okay.
and we have.
Oh, wait, Ari, the sound is off now.
Do
You're a little staticky.
you,
I don't know why.
do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yeah, although it sounds different than it did before. Is anything different in your setup?
How about now? Still bad?
It's like a little staticky. I don't know why.
That's
Do you mind taking the headphones off and just maybe that might be
How
okay?
about here? Is that better?
Yeah, that's
Does
better.
that mess with your sound or not?
That's good.
Okay.
So Ari's back and I'm asking him about the run right now. And it's you said until December.
Yeah, so we have the theater until December 6th,
Okay.
and we have a team that is determined to bring it to Broadway, which we will. and we may or may not bring it to another major city in the winter as we wait for a theater opening. But right now we're going till December 6th. It's a healthy run. It's really, the audiences are really, really growing. And yeah, I can't say that it's easy. Eight of these a week is really, really hard.
Yeah, I wondered about
Um,
that. What do
but
you do right before you go on? What's your ritual or what happens backstage? If I were there, what would I be seeing?
well, it starts earlier. A lot of the times I wake up during the day and I drink a pot of Yemeni tea.
Or he was a good actor even as a kid.
Yeah, he had managed to hide this hardship for 33 years. 33 years. I thought everything was normal. We had such a normal household. Uh, just regular, beautiful schooling, soccer, basketball, dancing, dinners, everything normal. I
Right.
couldn't see a sign that my son is going through a hardship at all. So
How
it was a
different
surprise.
was Ari's upbringing from yours? Did you grow up in Israel?
I grew up in Israeli Yemenite family until I was 12.
Were you born in Israel?
Yes, I was born in Israel.
And when did you come to the States?
And then from the age of 12, I moved to the kibbutz
Okay.
until the age of 23, 24. And then I start my journey with my backpack to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and then to meet my sweetheart in San Diego. And it didn't work out, and I kept traveling, and I met another sweetheart
Uh-huh.
in
That's your one-man show.
in San Francisco, his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Then having two children, and we did very well financially. And I developed. I was a contractor, and I was later on and delved into real estate. Start investing and developing real
Betach.
estate. בטח, כמובן. And since then, I retired when I was 50, and I start, you know, just taking care of my real estate portfolio.
Okay. Well, now we know who to go to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
right.
just want to say it's the father and son story is in every art form has covered it. And one always hopes and dreams of a happy ending, to use a very basic term. And so to know that in this lifetime, the two of you have come so full circle, and it is such a happy ending to see someone who suffered so much, not only to embrace his family and his father, but to write an entire play with so much love and so much compassion for everyone involved. Ariel, the compassion you have for yourself is
Mhm.
also what makes this piece so inherently watchable,
Mhm.
because there's so much forgiveness. But the hardest thing I would imagine is not to forgive anyone but yourself, right? To kind of go,
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that, it's what's funny is that the real reckoning and the play is the final scene with Meredith, who, for those listening, that's the name that I was encouraged I was encouraged to name my OCD by a therapist at 5 years old. And at that time in therapy, they were trying to help kids distance themselves from these strong feelings. And so they
right,
said, that's not you, that's Meredith. And so for my whole life, I was thinking of my OCD as something separate from me. And the end of the play is about embracing it and realizing that it's not separate from me, it's a part of me. And in that, being able to sort of look at my life and um, you know, try to put the pieces back together. And so the thing about it is that I've always actually embraced my dad. That scene is about me embracing myself.
mm-hmm,
And so it's a complicated story. It was really, really challenging socially, but it was mostly about me. It wasn't about him.
right.
And
And that comes through. That comes
yeah.
through because you do such I mean, now that I'm meeting your dad, Ari plays both him self and his dad. There are so many characters in this one person play. And I just have to say, now that I got to meet your dad, you do an incredible, it's not an impersonation, a channeling of
Yes.
his heart and spirit and voice and cadence. And it is so incredible and almost spooky to see
Yeah.
you sitting next to your dad, who really at some point could come on stage and play himself. He could pop into the play and pop off. I don't want to give you any ideas, but I'm sure he would love it.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
All right. Well, I want to thank you. I wish your whole family could fit into this frame and I could get to spend time with them, but it's really been an incredible pleasure and joy for me to get to talk to both of you today. Thank you for coming back and getting off the phone. And Ari, this is just an incredible play, and I'm so thrilled that people are going to get to see it for a long time. I was also thinking when I was talking to you, and then you split for a minute to go find your dad. I was thinking about how eventually Heidi Schreck had other people do what the Constitution means to me, which I
Yeah.
remember thinking, how could that be possible? That a show born so specifically out of one person's journey. But I also thought in years to come, you have given a gift to other actors who are going to get to perform this play. And to your point, they don't have to be you or mirror your experience exactly, but they will have to understand deeply what it is to feel shame and recovery and all of the things that you go through. It's really beautiful. And what it literally is a matana.
Toda.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing to think of. I mean, I
It
look,
probably is hard to
look,
imagine right
it
now.
is hard to imagine, but
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I also can't wait for someone else to take the load off my back. It's
Yeah.
hard. So, I probably have another year and a half of this, and then by
And
all
then you're going to do
means,
that Marvel movie.
Yeah.
maybe.
You're like, you know what?
As long as it's Yemenite.
Exactly. Why not? Why
Yeah.
not? A Yemenite superhero is exactly what the world needs. Okay, before I let you go, is there a little known fact about you that you can share?
Little known fact. I feel like I gave you a great one with the Airbnb.
You did.
Um Geez. Okay, let me think. Can you point me in a particular direction, a theme that
A
something so I can.
hobby, a secret passion, another talent that we don't know about. Um,
Oh yeah. I Another talent, there's none of that.
Hiking?
No, I say that in the show. I say that I
good
love
hiker.
pickleball.
That's
Uh,
a
a
good.
little known fact is that before every show, I listen to Lizzo and Ariana Grande.
Perfect.
Hmm?
That's
Perfect.
a fact.
Yeah.
Perfect. Guess
Uh,
what? I did not know that, and now I do.
in addition to Yair Gadassi
Mm.
singing Lechaeli,
Highly, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
so which is the Yemenite song that I sing in the show.
Uh, thank God you sing in this show. If you hadn't, I would have asked for my money back.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, that we get to hear your voice and then that voice is really special. I'm kidding. I wouldn't have asked for my money back, but it's such a value add to an already extraordinary night. Okay, Ari and Abashal Ari, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Thank you for the work, and I look forward to seeing you and the show again soon.
Toda, toda,
You're
toda.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime, anytime.
Okay.
Bye.
Take
All
care.
right. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
Donna.
Thank
Shalom.
you.
Bye.
Bye.